Donte Randall Jackson had spent his whole life wondering who his real father was.
And I have 4 brothers.
And we have 1 mother, but 2 fathers who happen to be brothers.
A lifetime of questions. Donte Randall Jackson spent most of his life surrounded by fame, music, and mystery. Growing up in the Jackson family household might seem like a dream to some, but for Donte, it was also a place filled with questions he could never get answers to. From a young age, he felt different. He had 4 siblings, and while they all called the same woman Mom, there were differences people noticed but didn't talk about openly. Donte often wondered about his place in the family. Was he really just another Jackson child, or was there something more to his story? People would sometimes give him strange looks or change the subject when he asked about his background. These small, quiet moments built a lifelong mystery around who he truly was. The biggest question that followed him everywhere was, who is my real father? It wasn't just curiosity, it was a hole in his heart that needed filling. Even though he lived among musical royalty, Donte often felt like an outsider in his own home. The truth was carefully hidden, and it would take many years, a DNA test, and a lot of courage for Donte to finally uncover the answer. He had been searching for his whole life. Growing up in the Jackson family, Donte was born on June 13, 1992, into a very famous and complicated family. The Jacksons, known worldwide thanks to music icons like Michael, Jeanne, and the Jackson 5, were always in the spotlight. But Donte's story was different from the rest. He wasn't just another son of a Jackson brother. He was officially adopted by the Jackson family's leaders, Joseph and Catherine Jackson, the parents of Michael and his siblings. That alone raised questions. Why would the grandparents adopt Donte directly? Why not one of their sons, like Randy or Jermaine, who were already having children with Alejandra Oziaza, the woman who raised Donte? Alejandra had children with both Randy and Jermaine Jafar, and Majesty with Jermaine, and Randy Jr. and Genevieve with Randy. All the children lived together like a big family. At first, people assumed Donte was just another of Randy's kids, but as he grew older, even Donte began to notice that he didn't look quite like his siblings. His personality was different too. While others in the family were loud, outgoing, and musically gifted, Donte was quiet, thoughtful, and more reserved. He began asking questions about his background, but every time he did, he got vague answers or was told not to worry about it. That only made him more curious. Adoption confusion and timeline questions. As Donte got older, he started piecing together information on his own. One thing that stood out was the timing of his birth. Compared to his so-called siblings, he was born just 8 months after Randy Jr., one of Alejandra's children with Randy Jackson. It's medically almost impossible for a woman to give birth to full-term babies that close together. This fact alone made Donte question whether Alejandra was really his biological mother. If not her, then who? And if Randy wasn't his father either, why did Joseph and Catherine Jackson adopt him instead of letting the biological parents raise him? The situation didn't make sense, and the more he thought about it, the more confused he became. Why would Alejandra raise a child that wasn't hers, especially right after giving birth to another child? It looked like someone was hiding something big. Maybe his birth involved a different woman entirely, someone who couldn't raise him, or wasn't allowed to. It even made sense that the grandparents might step in to avoid media attention or family drama. But Donte still didn't know who his real parents were, and that unknown part of himself kept following him. He tried asking questions again, but family members seemed uncomfortable. They'd change the subject or give short answers that didn't explain anything. Donte realized he had to dig deeper on his own. The Michael Jackson rumors began as Donte started quietly looking into his past. Something unexpected came up, a rumor that would change everything. Some people close to the family believed that Donte might actually be the secret son of Michael Jackson, the king of pop himself. It sounded wild at first. Could it really be true? Michael Jackson, the most famous member of the family, was known for being extremely private. He had a huge career, global fans, and endless media attention. If he had fathered a child outside of marriage, it would have caused major headlines. So, if it were true, the family would have had a strong reason to keep it secret. This theory could also explain why Donte was adopted by Michael's parents instead of being raised by his own. It would protect Michael's image, hide the identity of the mother, and give Donte a safe place to grow up. Some insiders claim that Donte's birth happened during a time when Michael was rumored to be seeing different women. away from the public eye. The whispers grew louder. What if Donte wasn't just Michael's nephew but actually his biological son? This theory shook Donte to his core. Could it be possible? And if so, why had no one told him the truth? Michael's special bond with Donte. The Michael Jackson theory entered Donte's mind. He began remembering things that suddenly made more sense. From a young age, Michael had always treated him differently than the other kids. It wasn't just casual uncle behavior, it felt deeper. Michael would take time to speak with Donte privately, asking about his school, his dreams, and how he felt about life. These talks didn't feel like small talk. They felt like someone giving advice, guiding him. As Donte replayed those moments in his mind, he wondered, had Michael always known the truth? Was he acting like a father trying to stay close to his son without revealing too much? Other family members noticed the bond too. Some even commented that Michael's eyes would light up whenever Donte was in the room. He seemed extra protective, extra affectionate. These weren't signs of just being a nice uncle. They felt like something more. When Michael passed away in 2009, Donte was only 17. The grief hit him hard, much harder than anyone expected. He felt a deep pain, like losing a piece of himself. That loss made Donte start to believe the rumors could be true. The sadness he felt wasn't just about an uncle. It felt like losing a father. The DNA test that changed everything years passed, but the question remained. Donte couldn't fully move forward until he knew the truth. The emotions, the doubt, and the family's silence were too heavy to carry anymore. So he decided to do what many in his position have done. He took a DNA test. This test could either confirm the rumors or finally put them to rest. When the results came in, Donte was both excited and scared. The moment of truth had arrived. The test results confirmed that Michael Jackson was not his biological father. That rumor was just that, a rumor. However, the DNA test did reveal something just as surprising. Donte's real father was a different member of the Jackson family, someone very close. While this man's name has not been publicly confirmed, the discovery gave Donte the answers he needed. He could finally understand who he really was, where he came from, and how he fit into the family. The DNA didn't just provide scientific proof, it gave him emotional peace. For the first time in his life, Donte had certainty. The mystery that had followed him for decades was finally solved. Finding identity and inner peace, know that Donte knows the truth about his parentage. Life has changed in many ways. The weight he carried for years is finally gone. He doesn't have to wonder anymore or feel like a stranger in his own family. Even though the journey was long and painful, the outcome gave him peace. What's more important is how his family supported him through the process, especially Catherine Jackson, who raised him with love and care. Whether she was his grandmother or something more, she always made sure he felt safe and valued. While he now knows who his biological father is, Donte also understands that family isn't just about blood. It's about who shows up for you, who loves you, and who helps you become the person you were meant to be. Donte's story reminds us that identity is more than just genetics. It's about belonging, healing, and the courage to face hard truths. He may have grown up in the shadows of stars, but today, Donte Jackson shines in his own light, no longer hidden by secrets, and proud of the man he has become. A mystery buried in silence for many years. Donte Jackson lived with questions no child should ever have to ask. Who are my real parents? While he was raised within the legendary Jackson family, there were always quiet rumors surrounding his origins. People whispered, speculated, and gossiped, but no one ever gave him the full truth. As he grew older, the questions grew louder. In his own heart, the story that had been told about him, that he was adopted by Catherine and Joseph Jackson, the family's matriarch and patriarch, felt incomplete. He looked around at his siblings and noticed differences. Differences in how he was treated, how others referred to him, and in the quiet, awkward moments that always seemed to show up when the topic of his parentage came up. Something wasn't adding up, and in time, Donte decided he couldn't live in the dark anymore. He had to find out the truth for himself, even if it hurt. Rumors centered on a mysterious woman, according to whispers within the Jackson circle. This woman wasn't a celebrity, but she did move among entertainers. She was said to be beautiful, smart, and private, someone who had a short relationship with one of the Jackson men in the early 1990s. After she became pregnant, she supposedly made arrangements for her child Donte to be raised inside the Jackson family, without telling the world who the real parents were. This might sound unusual, but considering the Jacksons' fame and need for privacy, it made sense. If Randy Jackson was the father, placing the child with his partner Alejandra might help hide the truth. But if the father was someone even more famous like Michael Jackson, then the secrecy became even more serious. Donte's birth in 1992 matched the timeline of this secret relationship. Slowly, pieces of the puzzle began to come together. The burden of not knowing as Donte moved into his 30s. The emotional weight of uncertainty became too heavy to carry. Being raised in a family full of legends where every move is watched by the public and every word can become a headline was already difficult. But not knowing who your real father is, that's something else entirely. He started to feel like a stranger in his own life. The doubt, the confusion, and the years of silence wore him down. At some point, Donte realized he would never find peace unless he searched for the truth himself. He wasn't chasing fame or trying to make headlines. He just wanted to understand where he came from, and maybe, more importantly, why the truth had been kept from him for so long, for years. The idea of DNA testing had been in the back of his mind, but it wasn't an easy decision to make. Donte knew that taking such a test might shake the very foundation of his life. The Jackson family is known for guarding its privacy, and a DNA test of the results went public could create a storm of attention and possibly pain. His decision could upset family members, damage relationships, and expose secrets that had been hidden for decades. Some of his relatives supported him, understanding that everyone has the right to know their true identity. Others were scared. They worried the results might open old wounds or change how people looked at the family. Even Katherine Jackson, the loving matriarch who raised Donte, was reportedly unsure. She wanted what was best for him, but she also feared that some truths might hurt more than the mystery ever did. Whispers of the truth while Donte was still deciding whether to go forward with DNA testing. Something unexpected happened. Quiet rumors began spreading that someone close to the situation had already taken steps to get answers. Some said the genetic testing had already been done quietly, behind the scenes, without any public announcement. If that was true, it raised even more questions. Who ordered the test? What did the results say? And why were they being kept secret? The idea that the truth might already exist, but be hidden from him, was both hopeful and heartbreaking. It made Donte even more determined to find the answers himself. But DNA testing isn't easy when you're part of a world-famous family. In samples, identifying potential fathers and protecting everyone's privacy required care and negotiation. Some family members might refuse. Others might agree only if they were promised confidentiality. Donte also had to deal with practical challenges. Joseph Jackson, the family patriarch, had passed away in 2018. That meant a direct test with him was impossible. Even if he had been alive, he was never considered a likely biological father based on the timeline. Still, Donte stayed focused. He believed that DNA science could give him the truth that years of confusion never could, only to names truly made sense as possible fathers, Randy Jackson or Michael Jackson. If it turned out to be Randy, it would explain a lot. He already had children with Alejandra, so adding another child to that relationship wouldn't have been surprising. But even then, why the secrecy? Why the adoption by Joseph and Katherine instead of Randy simply raising his son? The more shocking theory, of course, was Michael Jackson. If Michael was the father, it would explain the tight bond Donte always seemed to share with him. It would also explain why the truth had to be covered up after all. Protecting the king of pop's image was a high priority. The test and its aftermath eventually. Donte made a quiet, personal decision. According to those close to him, he went through with the DNA testing not for attention or to make a public statement, but for peace of mind. He didn't post about it. He didn't announce it to the world. He just wanted to know. When the results came in, the most surprising thing happened. Nothing. The test results were never shared with the public. In fact, some say they may never be. There's talk that the Jackson family, maybe even Katherine herself, asked Donte to keep the results private, not to hide from him, but to protect the family from emotional fallout. Others believe that the only reason the test was allowed at all was under the condition that whatever it revealed, it would stay confidential forever. For Donte, knowing the truth was a big step, but it didn't bring the relief he had hoped for. Whether the name on the paper was Randy or Michael, the consequences were deep. It wasn't just about him. It was about a family's history. It was about the love and lies that had shaped his entire life. Making the truth public could damage people he loved. raised difficult questions, and changed how the world viewed some of music's most famous figures. In the end, Donte made a powerful choice. He chose silence, not because he was ashamed, not because he didn't care, but because his truth was no one else's business. And maybe, in a world that feeds on drama and scandal, keeping something private is the most courageous act of all. Life after the truth today. Donte Jackson lives a life far away from the spotlight. He remains close to the Jackson family, loyal to the people who raised him, and respectful of the name they carry. But those who know him say something has changed. He carries himself differently. He's more grounded, more at peace. It's as if knowing where he came from gave him the foundation he always needed. He doesn't talk about the DNA test. He doesn't share the name it revealed, and yet his silence says more than words ever could. In a time when reality TV thrives on shocking DNA reveals and families are torn apart on live television, Donte's quiet dignity is rare. He never tried to exploit his story. He didn't sell it to tabloids or use it to chase fame. Instead, he went on a personal journey, found his truth, and decided to protect it. And in doing so, he protected something much more valuable: his peace, his identity, and his family's legacy. But even though he isn't talking publicly, Donte hasn't stopped asking questions. People close to him say he's still learning, still uncovering parts of his past that were hidden for decades. He does it privately, with care, because for him, finding out who you are isn't about the headlines. It's about healing, and healing takes time. A question bigger than one Donte Jackson story is more than just a family mystery. It's a powerful reflection of what so many people feel, but are afraid to say. The longing to know where we come from, the pain of being kept in the dark, the fear that the truth could do more harm than good, but also the strength it takes to seek answers and carry them with grace. Donte's journey reminds us that identity isn't just about biology. It's about love, belonging, and the choices we make when we finally learn the truth. Sometimes, finding answers is only the beginning. What we do with those answers, that's the real story. So, what do you think? Should every person have the right to know who their biological parents are? Or are some secrets better left alone, especially when they protect a family's peace? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Your voice matters just like Donte's does.